Oh, and welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really interesting exploration, I think. We're looking into the language of social interaction.
That's right. Specifically, we're focusing on the English vocabulary around courtesy, communication, and, well, let's face it, sometimes the friction that happens in public spaces.
Exactly. We're diving headfirst into some source materials that are packed with real conversational English. You know, the kind you actually need to navigate the world confidently.
We're really glad you're joining us for this. It's quite a critical deep dive if you're looking for maybe a shortcut to mastering practical English vocabulary. Especially those words and, sometimes complex phrases that deal with etiquette and tone. We're going to take these essential terms, break them down completely,
Really get into them.
and give you that clarity, like expert language instruction, so you can walk away with knowledge you can use straight away.
Absolutely. Our source material is just full of these useful, sometimes tricky words and phrases. And because we really want this knowledge to stick, we're going to make sure that for every key term we look at, we take the time.
Right.
We'll define it clearly, look at the spelling, which is important for some of these, and then show how it's used with practical, memorable examples. This isn't just about listening. It's about building that conversational toolkit.
Makes sense. So let's start this deep dive by jumping right into those friction points. The moments when people sharing a space kind of clash. We'll begin with vocabulary that describes, well, poor behavior.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with two key words right from the beginning of our source material. They focus on how people behave, or maybe more accurately, how they misbehave in public.
Good place to start.
So the first crucial word we need to really master is inconsiderate. It's a pretty powerful adjective, isn't it? And often used almost like an accusation.
It really is. Let's make sure everyone gets the spelling down clearly because it's a bit of a longer word. Okay, it's spelled inconsiderate.
Inconsiderate.
Inconsiderate. One more time. Inconsiderate.
And what we mean by inconsiderate is pretty simple, really. It describes someone who isn't thinking about how other people feel. They're just not thoughtful.
Yeah. It's a term you'd use for a social judgment, right? When someone doesn't show that basic public courtesy, often because they're just too wrapped up in their own thing.
And the linguistic power here, as you mentioned, it lies in how it's different from just being, say, rude.
That's a key distinction.
Yeah.
Being rude often feels intentional, doesn't it? Like a direct insult.
Yeah.
But being inconsiderate, well, that's usually unintentional selfishness.
Right.
The person simply didn't stop and think, how might this affect others?
That distinction is so important. Let's look at the real-world examples from the source material. They capture that lack of foresight perfectly. Like, think about this subway scenario. An old lady was standing right there, and nobody got up to give her their seat. That was pretty inconsiderate.
Yeah, classic example.
Well, people sitting probably didn't mean to be cruel. They just weren't paying attention, or maybe just didn't think.
Exactly. And another common one, especially in a home or shared living space, involves noise. If someone's being too loud, you might hear, "Stop being so inconsiderate and turn down the TV. I'm trying to sleep."
Oh, yeah.
See, here, the word acts as this sharp correction. It demands they immediately pay attention to someone else's needs.
And crucially, it applies to time, too. Being on time, punctuality, that's a form of consideration, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're always late, someone might eventually tell you, "It was inconsiderate of you to make me wait 25 minutes. They're pointing out that your poor time management disrespected their schedule.
So, inconsiderate. It's a high-impact adjective. It's how we label behavior that crosses a social line, but maybe without necessarily being hostile about it, just thoughtless.
Makes sense. Okay, moving on to a really vital conversational phrase for dealing with noise specifically. We have keep it down. This is more of a functional command, isn't it? Often used when patience is wearing a bit thin.
Definitely. Let's break down that spelling. It's 3 separate words, often said quickly together, but let's go slow for practice.
Yeah.
K-E-P, pause. I-T, pause. D-O-W-N.
Keep it down.
Keep it down. One more time.
Keep it down.
The meaning is pretty straightforward.
Right.
It's just an informal way to tell someone to be quiet, or more often, to stop making so much noise.
Right. But what's interesting here, as our source points out, is that while the meaning is clear, the tone is everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very common, highly conversational, and because of that, it can often sound quite demanding.
Yeah.
It usually comes out when noise is directly
Let's listen to how it might be used in different situations. Like, imagine it's late at night and you need quiet. Excuse me, do you mind keeping it down? It's after midnight.
Notice the, there. It softens the direct request just a little bit.
Yeah, tries to. Or if you're trying to focus, maybe studying or working, I'm trying to study, do you mind keeping it down?
Right. The phrase really highlights that interruption to your concentration, to your mental state.
And finally, a classic scenario from the source, focusing on watching something important. You mind keeping it down? I'm trying to watch the game.
Ah, yes, the sacred game watching time. In all these cases, the person using the phrase is basically asserting their right to some peace and quiet in a shared space.
Okay, so we've identified problems like being inconsiderate or noisy. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. We move from just pointing out the problem to actually managing it or maybe minimizing it.
Right. Language for solutions, or at least de-escalation.
Exactly. Our source material gives us 3 really essential phrases for handling minor issues. Let's start with how you signal that something isn't actually that important.
Okay.
The next crucial phrase for sounding natural in conversation is not such a big deal. This is so useful for just lowering the temperature in an interaction.
It really is. Let's spell this one out, focusing on all the little words that make up the whole idea. N-O-T, pause. S-U-C-H, pause. Pause. B-I-G, pause. D-E-A-L.
Not such a big deal.
Not such a big deal. Let's say it one more time. Not such a big deal.
And the meaning is basically, it's not a big problem, it's not that important. You overwhelmingly hear it used to comfort someone who's apologizing or worried about some minor mistake.
Yeah, but let's dig into the nuance a bit, because this phrase isn't always completely sincere, is it?
That's a good point. How so?
Well, it can be used to genuinely minimize a mistake, like you said.
Yeah.
But it can also be used a bit passive-aggressively. You know, when the speaker's actually kind of annoyed, but they're choosing to keep cool or maybe avoid a direct confrontation.
Ah, okay. So you really have to listen to the tone again.
Absolutely. High-level comprehension right there. Tone tells you a lot.
So let's take an example. If you get an apology for a delay, the comforting, sincere reply might sound like this. Speaker A says, I can't get these files to you by tomorrow. Speaker B replies, that's okay, it's not such a big deal.
Right. In that case, it sounds like it genuinely minimizes the issue. No problem.
But compare that to being late for a group thing. Someone apologizes, I'm really sorry, I'm going to be 10 minutes late for the meeting. You could use the phrase to ease their stress. It's not such a big deal, Peter and Liam are late too.
Yeah, that works to kind of de-escalate their anxiety, spreads the blame a little maybe.
And when someone's beating themselves up over their own mistake, oh no, I just made one small mistake, you can reassure them with, it's not such a big deal. It's a key phrase for offering that immediate comfort in English.
Definitely a useful one for smoothing things over.
Okay, now we come to a phrase that's, well, structurally a bit complicated. It's a common source of mistakes for language learners, but you hear it constantly in everyday life. Switch it off.
Ah, yes, the phrasal verb strike again. The meaning itself is simple, just to turn something off, usually an electronic device.
Right.
But the structure, the grammar, that's where the complexity creeps in. Let's spell the component words first. S-I-I-T, pause, O-F-F.
Switch it off.
Switch it off one more time, nice and clear. Switch it off.
So what's fascinating here, as you hinted, is that this is a phrasal verb, switch off. And it gets tricky with objects. Learners often get tangled up because the object, the thing you're switching off, can sometimes move around. But
Right.
if the object is a pronoun, like it, the options suddenly get much narrower.
That's absolutely right. This is a classic sticking point. When we use the full noun, like your phone, we actually have 2 perfectly good options. You can say, did you switch off your phone? That's verb plus particle plus object. Or you can say, did you switch your phone off? That's verb plus object plus particle. Both are totally correct, totally common. Native speakers use both all the time.
Right, but the moment we replace your phone with the pronoun it, English grammar sort of insists.
It demands.
Yes.
It demands that the particle, off in this case, must go after the pronoun.
Okay, so you can say, did you switch off it?
No, that sounds immediately wrong to a native speaker. Incorrect grammar. The rule requires the pronoun it, or him, her, them, etc., to be nestled right inside the phrasal verb. Did you switch it off?
Oh, okay.
This is the third style, and probably the most common in quick conversation when the object is already known. And that's why nailing this specific structure, verb plus pronoun plus particle, is essential for sounding natural.
Let's try and solidify that with another example, maybe focusing on the TV. We can say, switch off the TV.
Yep.
Or Switch the TV off.
Also good. But if we both know we're talking about the TV, the most natural thing is...
Switch it off.
Exactly. So mastering this structure is really critical, especially with all the tech around us.
Yeah.
Phones, TVs, lights.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, moving on. We have a phrase that expresses a complete inability to hear anything. Can't hear a thing. This feels quite emphatic, doesn't it? Like you're signaling a serious problem.
Very emphatic. Let's get the spelling for this highly expressive phrase. C-A-N apostrophe T, pause, H-E-A-R, pause. Hear a thing. Can't hear a thing. One last time. Can't hear a thing.
So this phrase is really just a more expressive way of saying, I can't hear at all, or I can't hear anything. And it's almost always used because the noise around you is just too loud. It often signals frustration or maybe confusion because of the noise.
Absolutely. It's very common when you're expressing confusion because of background noise. Like in a crowded room or party. What's going on over there? I don't know. I can't hear a thing.
Right. Using thing really emphasizes that zero comprehension, doesn't it?
It does. Or imagine you're at a concert or some venue where the sound is just overwhelming. What? I'm sorry, this music is way too loud. I can't hear a thing.
Yeah, that feels much stronger, much more descriptive than just saying, I can't hear you.
Exactly. And the phrase is also useful for technical problems, which ties back to our phone etiquette discussion earlier. Like, something's wrong with my phone. I couldn't hear a thing when you called earlier.
Okay. So in that context, it clearly signals a failure in the communication tech itself.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's put some of this together. If I can't hear a thing because someone is being noisy or inconsiderate, how do I actually ask them to stop without sounding like a complete jerk?
The million-dollar question.
We've covered the words for being annoyed, for expressing frustration, but now let's look at the actual linguistic tool for making a request politely, or, as we hinted, maybe not so politely, using that powerful phrase. Do you mind?
Yes, this is such a high-level communication tool. The core structure is, do you mind? Let's spell that out. D-O, pause. O-I-O-U, pause.
Yeah?
M-I-N-D, question mark.
Do you mind?
Do you mind? And again, do you mind?
Now, at its heart, this is meant to be a very polite way of asking someone to do something, right? You're literally asking if doing that action would bother them or inconvenience them.
Exactly. And the related phrase, would you mind, carries pretty much the same polite weight. Often you'll see the ing form of the verb following mind in these requests, like, do you mind closing the window?
Right. And we absolutely have to highlight the typical polite answer here. If someone asks you politely, do you mind? And you're okay with the request, the standard polite answer is usually something like, no, not at all, or no, I don't mind.
Crucial point. Saying yes actually means yes, I do mind, meaning you do have a problem with the request. This can be really confusing for learners whose first languages handle this structure differently.
Definitely something to watch out for. Okay, let's look at the standard polite examples first. If you need a hand, you could ask, do you mind holding my coat for me? That sounds like a genuine question about their willingness to help.
Yep, perfectly polite. Or, thinking back to etiquette on public transport, if someone's bag is blocking the aisle. Do you mind moving your bag so I can pass? Again, framed politely.
And connecting directly to our earlier vocabulary, asking for quiet in a public space like a library or cinema. Do you mind turning off your phone? This should be polite, provided the tone is gentle.
And this brings us right to the critical high-stakes analysis of this phrase. Because while do you mind is structurally polite, the tone of voice can completely flip its meaning.
Yes. This is so important. If you say, do you mind keeping it down, but you say it in an angry, sharp, or maybe sarcastic tone, you are absolutely not being polite anymore.
Not at all. You're essentially hijacking a polite structure to deliver an aggressive, almost rhetorical question. The person you're speaking to understands perfectly well that you're not really asking if they mind, you're demanding they stop.
Right. The politeness has just evaporated completely because of the delivery.
Exactly. It really demonstrates that mastering English isn't just about knowing the words and the grammar rules. It's about mastering the emotional delivery of those words and phrases. If you use a supposedly kind phrase, but your tone is aggressive,
you'll just come across as passive-aggressive, or maybe just really, really frustrated and barely holding it together.
Precisely. It's a very fine line sometimes.
Okay, we've spent a good amount of time analyzing the vocabulary itself. But to really get these phrases like inconsiderate, switch it off, do you mind to sink in, we need the context.
Right. Where do these situations actually happen?
Well, the dialogue we analyzed, where a lot of this came up, takes place at the movies. And the cinema is actually a surprisingly rich cultural environment for learning about etiquette and communication boundaries, isn't it?
It really is. Let's explore why that specific setting causes so much friction and seems to demand such specific vocabulary for dealing with it.
Yeah, because if we connect this to the bigger picture, the whole movie experience is pretty unique. It reflects global cultural habits, but maybe more importantly, it requires this high degree of communal respect.
That's spot on. The source material really emphasizes that this shared setting, the cinema, kind of magnifies the annoyance caused by inconsiderate behavior. Minor disturbances at home might be nothing, but in a dark, quiet theater, they become major disruptions.
Okay, let's break down that unique atmosphere. Going to the movies isn't just like watching something on your laptop at home. It's meant to be immersive, right? A sensory-driven break from reality.
Absolutely. The whole atmosphere is intentionally designed to get your mind ready for shared storytelling. The source notes those immediate sensory details that kind of condition you.
Like the smell of popcorn.
Exactly. The smell of popcorn, maybe sweet candy, filling the air. That aroma, for many people, triggers this almost Pavlovian response. Relaxation, indulgence, getting ready for entertainment.
And the physical setting itself is designed purely for focus. You walk in, there's often soft carpet underfoot, the lights dim way down. It creates this sense of entering a special, almost sacred space.
Yeah, mysterious even. And the lighting isn't just about making it dark. It's about eliminating all the other visual distractions, forcing your attention onto one single point, that massive screen.
Which brings us to the big screen difference. That's a huge factor in why disruptions are so annoying, isn't it? The screen is enormous, making every detail, every facial expression, every tiny action feel clear and powerful.
Right. So if someone suddenly lights up their phone screen in that darkness, that small rectangle of light becomes this glaring beacon. It just shatters the visual immersion for everyone nearby.
Totally. And then there's the sound immersion. Modern cinemas have these incredible sound systems designed so that when the music swells or characters speak, the audio just fills the entire room.
It's meant to be deep, enveloping. It makes you feel like you're part of the movie. So when a personal sound intrudes a phone call, someone rustling a noisy rapper really loudly, it doesn't just block the movie sound. It feels like it tears a hole in that reality the filmmakers built.
Yeah.
You instantly think, ugh, can't hear a thing over that noise.
And we have to remember the social contract aspect, too. Going to the movies is often a communal activity. You share the experience, the laughs, the scares, maybe even the tears, with friends, family, or even strangers.
That shared emotional response makes it special, right? The investment feels higher than just watching alone, which is precisely why when someone is inconsiderate, it feels like a personal violation of that shared, maybe even slightly vulnerable moment.
That makes sense. And the ultimate goal for many people is just that break from reality. For a couple of hours, you're supposed to forget your busy, stressful life and just recharge.
So when that environment gets disturbed, say, by someone who forgot to switch it off, their phone, that is that little moment of escape, is just shattered. And the frustration level goes way up because the disruption cost you your relaxation, your investment in the story.
Okay, so the environment itself is primed for potential conflict over etiquette. Now, the source material also brought up some fascinating contrasts in global habits. Different countries have different ideas about movie etiquette.
They really do. And this directly affects when and why vocabulary like inconsiderate gets used. What one culture sees as totally normal, another might see as highly disruptive. It shows how flexible the definition of courtesy can be.
Let's start with North American habits, specifically Canada, as mentioned in the source. In Canada, it seems very common, even expected, to eat certain snacks: popcorn, candy, chips, soda. That noise is generally tolerated because it's part of the tradition.
Right. That specific food noise is okay, but using your phone or talking loudly, that's seen as a major, absolutely inconsiderate transgression. A phone ringing is considered a big problem.
So there's a cultural hierarchy of annoyance there. Food noise, okay. Electronic noise, bad. Now contrast that with the habits described in Ecuador and maybe South America more generally. The source notes people sometimes bring food from outside the theater.
Yeah, including, as the source says, really smelly food, specifically mentioning chicken.
Wow, okay, that really changes the game on what counts as an inconsiderate action, doesn't it? If the whole point of the cinema is total immersion, and suddenly the strong smell of a hot meal is wafting through the air.
That's bound to create some friction. As the source notes, you might find yourself either getting really hungry or just really upset because the sensory experience of the film The sights and sounds has been kind of polluted by these powerful external smells.
Imagine trying to politely say in that context, "Do you mind putting away your chicken?" You'd be challenging a local cultural norm, potentially.
Whereas in North America, or most of Europe, bringing a full aromatic meal into a theater would be almost universally seen as extremely inconsiderate behavior.
And then the source gives us the historical example of Switzerland, which sounds like the complete opposite end of the spectrum. A really strict, almost purist approach, historically speaking.
Right. Apparently you had to eat before the movie. No popcorn, no soda, no candy allowed inside the actual theater auditorium.
Wow. For people who equate movies with popcorn, that's a huge adjustment. It completely redefines the whole experience.
So looking at these three examples, Canada with its specific tolerated food noises, Ecuador, where external aromatic food might be okay, and historical Switzerland, where no food was allowed, it really shows that the application of a word like inconsiderate is a cultural variable.
Yeah. To use the English vocabulary effectively and appropriately, you first need to kind of understand the unwritten social contract of the specific place you're in.
Exactly. Context is everything.
Finally, related to this, we should probably touch on the idea of movies as art, because appreciating that deepens our understanding of why we demand silence and focus in the first place. Movies aren't just disposable entertainment, they're a collaborative art form.
That's a really important point. They require immense hard work from so many people. Directors, actors, writers, cinematographers, composers, editors, the list goes on.
And every single detail you see and hear on that big screen is usually planned and intentional. The colors chosen, the musical score, the costume design, the special effects, the lighting, and crucially, the precise way dialogue is written and delivered.
So when someone is making noise, when you can't hear a thing because of their chatter, they aren't just bothering the audience members around them. In a way, they're disrespecting the thousands of hours of intentional creative design that went into making that moment.
Think about the dialogue specifically. The screenwriter chose those exact words. The actor delivered them with a specific emotion, a specific timing. If you miss a key line because someone nearby is being disruptive,
the narrative thread can break. The emotional impact is lost. By understanding that a movie is this meticulously crafted piece of art, we get why disrupting it feels like such a profoundly inconsiderate act.
And movies often function as a reflection of life, too, don't they? They hold up a mirror to society, show us who we are, maybe who we want to be, what we dream about.
Yeah, they connect people across cultures and inspire creativity.
Yeah.
So respecting the cinema environment is also about respecting that shared artistic venture and the kind of collective dreaming it represents.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, that contextual background was really helpful, I think. Now, to round out this deep dive and make sure our vocabulary toolkit is really complete, our source material gave us a few more essential words. These perfectly complement the phrases we've already learned.
Right, some related terms.
Let's quickly apply our format, define clearly, spell it out, give practical examples to these rapid-fire terms.
Okay, let's do it.
First up, the fundamental adjective, noisy.
Okay, noisy. That's spelled N-O-I-S-Y. Noisy.
And the meaning is pretty straightforward. Noisy just means very loud
Right.
or full of noise.
Example, the people sitting in the row behind us were incredibly noisy. They were constantly talking through the quiet scenes.
Or, example, we had to move tables at the restaurant because the area next to the kitchen was just too noisy.
Makes sense. Okay, next one.
Next up, a versatile verb describing the act of disruption itself. Disturb.
Disturb, spelled D-I-S-T-U-R-B. Disturb.
And to disturb someone means to interrupt them, bother them, or upset them. It usually implies breaking their concentration or their peace.
Got it. Example, their loud conversation really threatened to disturb the entire row of people trying to watch the film. It ruined their focus.
Or maybe at home. Example, please try not to disturb your father while he's on his important conference call. He needs quiet.
Okay, clear. What's next?
A slightly more specific verb, often related to speaking over someone, interrupt.
Interrupt, spelled I-N-T-E-R-R-U-P-T. Watch out for that double R in the middle. Interrupt.
And to interrupt means to speak or maybe make noise when someone else is already speaking, breaking the flow of what they're saying.
Right. Example, please don't interrupt me while I'm trying to explain the new safety rules. I need to finish this important point.
And linking back, example, it's often considered quite inconsiderate, even rude, to constantly interrupt people during a normal conversation.
Okay, good connection. Next.
Our 10th word offers the polite solution to talking too loudly in quiet places. To whisper.
Ah, yes. To whisper. That's spelled P-O, pause. W-H-I-S-P-E-R. to whisper.
And to whisper means to speak very, very softly, using mostly your breath and throat, not your vibrating vocal cords. This is the courteous way to communicate briefly in a place like a theater if you absolutely must.
Exactly. Example, instead of talking at full volume, they really should have been whispering so that no one else could overhear their discussion.
Or, example, she leaned in close to whisper the secret password into my ear.
Okay, got it. Just one more pair, I think.
Yes, finally, let's look at two synonyms often used to describe bad etiquette. They're often a bit stronger, maybe more direct than inconsiderate. They are impolite and rude.
Okay, impolite and rude. Let's spell them both. Impolite is IMPOLITE, and rude is simply RUDE.
And both words basically mean not showing proper manners, being offensive or uncivil.
Right. Let's do an example for each. For impolite, example, Aaron is so impolite, he's always late for meetings and never bothers to apologize. It implies that failure to use basic social graces.
Okay. And for rude, example, it's really rude to have your phone volume turned up high in a quiet public space like a library or a doctor's waiting room. Rude often feels a bit sharper, maybe suggesting a more deliberate disregard for boundaries.
Yeah, that sounds right. A subtle difference, but useful to know.
Okay, great. That covers the key vocabulary additions.
So that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into the language of social conduct, especially in these shared public settings. We've built up, I think, quite a robust vocabulary,
That's great.
covering that whole spectrum of interaction. How you express annoyance, inconsiderate, keep it down, can't hear a thing. How you make that potentially tricky, polite request, do you mind? And even how to downplay a problem. Not such a big deal.
And we tackled the grammar of phrasal verbs like switch it off.
We did. Always remember, knowledge like this is most valuable when you really understand the context and you apply it carefully, paying attention to things like tone.
Absolutely. So we really encourage you, our listener, to try using some of these phrases in your daily conversations. And definitely pay close attention to your tone, especially when you're using structures like, do you mind? The ultimate goal here is better social confidence, knowing you have the right words for these situations. And maybe next time you enter a public space, like the cinema, just double check where your phone is and make sure you remember to switch it off.
Good practical advice. And it's interesting, the source material consistently reminds us that even though technology now lets us watch movies pretty much anywhere on our phones, giant screens at home, there's still something special about the cinema.
Yeah.
That unique atmosphere, the shared emotions, that collaborative focus you get in a physical theater, it really can't be completely replaced. It's still a powerful social ritual.
That leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to carry with you today, drawing directly from the context we just analyzed.
Okay.
What small, maybe inconsiderate habit might we all of us change today to make a shared public experience? Whether that's on the train, in a waiting room, or yes, at the movie theater. Just a little more meaningful and definitely less disruptive for everyone around us.
That's a great question to ponder. Something for us all to think about. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Yes, thanks everyone. We'll catch you next time.